big box stores like Walmart would like to be able to sell hard liquor in Oklahoma. But liquor store owners fear that would put them out of business. Right now, grocery stores can only sell beer and wine, but preliminary discussions are underway to change that. Moderator Susan Godot hears from both sides of the issue in this week's in-depth discussion.
Thank you, Rich. We'll dive right in with our guests. I'll introduce them to you now. We have Dirk Van Veen, who is the Vice President of the Retail Liquor Store Association. And then we have Brett Robinson, who is President of the Beer Distributors of Oklahoma. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.
Thank you, Susan.
All right, Brett, we're going to kick things off with you. There was an initial meeting on September 13th, I believe, to discuss allowing grocery stores to start selling liquor, not just beer and wine, but hard liquor. Were you at that meeting? And was it the first meeting? What's going on with that?
It was a great representation of folks in the industry from across the state in person, and there were quite a few folks on Zoom as well. So it was a really good meeting. It was well organized and well executed.
Who called that meeting?
Pat McFerrin, who's a consultant and contract lobbyist in Oklahoma City. One of his clients is Walmart. He reached out to a large group of representatives of the alcohol industry who represent different facets of the industry at the state capitol. We'd like to get everybody together in a room and just kind of go over some of these issues here's what we're thinking about doing. And we want to get everybody in the room and start talking about it.
All right, Dirk, I want to jump over to you. Were Oklahoma liquor stores invited to that meeting?
No, we were not.
Why not? When did you first hear about this meeting?
We heard about it through the grapevine, not officially, probably about 4 weeks before. I understand why we weren't invited.
Why?
It was distributors. Well, it was wholesalers. It was people by and large, not completely, that would tend to benefit from alcohol going into grocery stores. And then also, I would say also there were others present there that I'm sure that McFerrin hopes would be either neutral or neutralized that are also wholesalers, such as beer and wine, who would stand to lose sales, within Walmart if there's competing product.
So, Dirk, I do want to stay with you for a minute because Oklahoma did change its laws a few years ago to let beer and wine be sold in grocery stores and big box stores like that. And there was a big battle then. Since that time, since that has been approved, has there been an impact on retail liquor stores regarding the sale of wine or high alcohol content beers?
We lost 80 to 100 stores. Keep in mind, we currently have 618 stores in the state of Oklahoma. And it also resulted in approximately 30% loss in sales for the remaining stores. My store, as a matter of fact, used to sell 25% wine, and now it's 7.5%.
Brett, I wanted to talk to Dirk to get that point of view first, because I do want to come back to you and talk about what were the reasons put forth in the meeting that you heard, that you listened to, for maybe opening up larger retail sales market to harder liquors?
So that's a big discussion. So no specifics were talked about as far as, how that would be done or, when it would be done or, the mechanics of it. And we all know the devil's in the details with these legislative and, constitutional amendment proposals. But yeah, we didn't really talk about that many specifics.
So was there any pushback to the idea in the meeting, or was it pure information being given one way towards folks like you?
More of a one-way conversation almost, and that's not a bad thing, because we're very grateful that Walmart invited us to come meet and sit around the table to talk about this. Like I said, I think we're going to, as we move on down the road, I think we're going to see things unfold more and more. I would imagine there will be, now one-off meetings with different participants in the industry as opposed to a large group, because it's very hard to kind of parse out and work on specific proposals with a group that large, so I would anticipate more one-off meetings with different members of the industry from here on out.
Is this done in other states already, Brett?
Yes. And I apologize, I may not get this number correct, but I believe there are about 14 or 15 states that allow some form of sale of spirits in grocery and convenience and pharmacies. I would think that would also be a part of the discussion in Oklahoma.
Dirk, I want to come back to you because, I know we just talked about one of the reasons the retail liquor store groups might be against this, and it's pocketbook, but are there any other reasons why your group might feel like this is a bad idea, or just you as an Oklahoman?
We as liquor stores have a different set of responsibilities as the state legislature sought to make it in 1959. We own our licenses as an individual. If if we don't protect the interests and the public health of our consumers, then we can lose our house. We can go to jail for it. This is not something that happens with a Walmart manager or a Walmart executive. And also, I'd say insult to injury is the fact that we have unmitigated shoplifting going on in stores these days. That the Walgreens 5 miles from me allows $9,000 a week in shrink. In other words, shoplifting. They just don't intercede with them. And this is a controlled substance. I need to remind everyone, this is not paper plates. So you have a huge responsibility when it comes to selling alcohol products. We're not happy with the way that Walmart, with 6 or more points of ingress and egress, 600 employees, many of which are under the age of 21, most of which, and the fact that they will not intercede with a shoplifter or anyone else who is potentially at risk and consuming the product on site or taking it elsewhere. And we think this only becomes worse when you start talking about 100 proof vodka. So this is also the reason why it is in so few states, while there are 34 states that allow beer and wine in grocery stores. The spirits is a different animal and should be treated as such.
Susan, if I may, I mean, let's not forget there are about 19 states still where the state actually controls some form or fashion of the alcohol industry, whether it's a state-run liquor store or a state-run distribution point. That still exists out there in a lot of states in this country.
Do you think there should be some control to access of these products that have a higher alcohol content?
And this is a big debate in the industry that's been going on a long time, and it's called equivalency. And the big wine and spirit manufacturers would like you to think that their products are really no different than beer and wine. But we believe that beverages, adult beverages like beer, are the drink of moderation. And we do have a lot of high alcohol beverage, high ABV beers out there, but we also have a lot of beers that are not high alcohol. And in fact, the trend is right now, if you look at the numbers, the trend is to go to actually no alcohol beers. There's a brewer called Athletic Brewing. I mean, they're one of the hottest beers around, and their beers have zero alcohol. So, we're dealing with a lot of changing consumer trends out there. And it's a debate that's not just part of this Walmart proposal, but it's a big debate nationwide, because it also goes towards the taxation of the product, how the product is taxed and what channels it's sold through.
Well, I asked Dirk this, and I was remiss in asking you too. How did beer distributors' sales bottom lines change 4 years ago when this law was changed?
We for years dealt with this concept of what they called. I want to go get some strong beer. I want to go to Texas and get some strong beer. Everybody thought, well, 3-2 beer was, what's 3-2 beer? The fundamental difference when you actually looked at the numbers, it wasn't that different. Coors Light is, 3.2 alcohol by weight is basically 4% alcohol by volume. And a regular Coors is, a Yellow Belly or whatever people call them, it's 5% alcohol by volume. So it's not that big a difference. And so what really happened was in 2016 and then implemented in 2018 was what we think was a very important reorganization of how alcohol is sold in Oklahoma that made more sense, particularly for the consumer. And at that time, it was also geared towards, how do we help local industry like craft brewers get to market? That law change opened up craft brewers to this brand new channel where their beer, their drink of moderation, could be sold in grocery and convenience stores. It was a huge deal.
Was there an increase, though, an economic increase?
Yeah, dramatically. Every one of my members of my association, I represent the Beer Distributors of Oklahoma. We're 7 Molson Coors wholesalers from across the state. We carry a lot more brands than Molson Coors. We carry all the Mexican portfolio, a lot of great national crafts, regional crafts, local crafts. Their sales, it was dramatic. They were able to add warehouse space, economic development wise. They created more jobs, expanded their warehouses, added trucks, added salespeople. For us, honestly, it was a great deal. And I understand Dirk's point about that. about what happened to them. But I would argue, Dirk might agree, that the ones that survived, the liquor stores that survived, are the really good operators. I still enjoy going to my local liquor store. Grand Cru in Oklahoma City, one of my favorite liquor stores. Stan Stack store is a great store. Freeman Liquor Mart down on Western. They have some of the best selections of wine that I've seen in other cities.
There
So
are viewers out there making lists right now, I think. I'm not sure.
yeah.
Susan, can
But-
I comment to this? I would argue that it was not good for the beer industry. It was good for a handful of manufacturers, large scale manufacturers. We have in fact, since modernization, 2018 implementation, seen fewer craft beers in the state. It became, understand that whenever someone, keep in mind, Walmart is only going to carry the top 10% of the brands that perform. They are not where you go for a selection of beer. So if you're in Walmart and you decide that you're going to buy a bottle of Shock Top, which is an Anheuser-Busch quasi-craft product, it means that you've now not been able to go to a liquor store and make the same decision for a more thoughtful, small produced, probably Oklahoma produced craft beer. So we would argue that I think that as during modernization, they were touting relentlessly that there would be more selection, more selection, more selection. In fact, we have seen less selection since 2018. And that is because Walmart chooses not to carry it all. And it's very hard on small business, small distributors, small suppliers. Now, the big ones, yes, they have flourished, no doubt.
If I could have just a rebuttal real quick. I mean, just go down your aisle at your local Homeland or Reese's or one of those stores, not one of the giant, big boxes, but local folks, and look at the selection that's available now on those aisles. And I mean, and here's another point. And compare it to the soft drink aisle. You go down the soft drink aisle, you only see what? 2 manufacturers. Go down the beer aisle, you're going to see a ton of manufacturers represented.
And I'm afraid that's where we're headed, is to fewer manufacturers. I mean, keep in mind, before modernization, we carried 350 plus craft beers. Through other measures, we've increased our sales globally or entirely. We now sell less beer than we ever did.
So what do you see happening? So Dirk, let me ask you, and this seems so preliminary, right, Brett? This seems very preliminary.
Very, yeah.
So this is super preliminary, but as you learned about this, what was the first thought? Was it an oh no thought? And if so, why?
At this point, so pre-modernization, roughly 50% of my sales were spirits. Now they're 63%. If they come and take the same 30% of this category, that becomes a killer. Instead of losing 80 to 100 stores, we'll lose 300 plus stores. And the remaining ones will be so weakened that, again, you won't have great selection. You'll have less selection. And you're also in a situation where they're not going to be able to fight off the next challenge. Keep in mind, Walmart spent an estimated $2.5 million in 2018.
So as we wrap up, Brett, you were at the meeting, so I'm going to give you the last word. As you listen to this, and I realize you were invited to this meeting, of course, you're going to go and hear all of it. Do you think, after everything you've heard, and you know the legislature because you've been through this battle before, both of you have, but does this stand a chance of getting through the legislature if it advances more?
First of all, I want to say thank you, to Walmart and they're, being one of our biggest customers. We're very grateful for the opportunities to sit down and talk about these issues with them. I would say that this looks it does look somewhat similar to what unfolded in 2015 and 2016. And this kind of, honestly, what got the ball rolling was the election of was State Senator Stephanie Bice, who's now the Congresswoman from the 5th District. She was one of the real kind of the genesis for a lot of this. I mean, just having a voice like that in the state Senate pushing this idea of change. And so, because there had been talk about it before, there had been an interim study or two prior to Senator Bice's election, Congressman Bice now, to the state Senate. There have been discussions about it, but nothing ever went anywhere. And then, that kind of got the ball rolling in 2015. And that's kind of, back then it was a discussion about, well, we can do it this way. We can do it, but I think it could potentially unfold like that this time, that, there's a discussion about a initiative petition, and then it might go to a legislative referendum. We'll just have to see how this unfolds.
Dirk, any last words from you?
I would say that's how we've seen it playing out as well. You know, the legislature is usually more right-minded when it comes to where's the tax revenue, where are the jobs, how's this going to affect the employment in Oklahoma. And so we think that as in the last time this was attempted or it failed in the legislature, the referendum, then we'll go to an initiative petition because consumers all too often are more consumed with the convenience. You know, it may not be in the best interest of the public health and welfare of the state, but, you know, and they may not be thinking clearly about what it does to selection, but they still, you know, would like to have it at Walmart.
I know we could go on. I'd like to thank both of you for your time. And I have
Thank
a
you.
feeling we'll get back together to discuss this more in the future. You guys have
Absolutely. We look forward to
Thank
that.
you,
Thank
Susan.
you, Susan.